Good morning, guys. What's up? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So if this is your first time here, my name is Lowell. I'm a travel filmmaker, I'm a travel blogger. So today I'm going to talk about my top 10 cheapest cities in Southeast Asia. Yes, as we all know that you all like to travel cheaply, right? So I compile some top 10 cities that for me it's very cheap regarding like foods, transportation, and also the shopping, the hostel or Airbnbs, and many more, guys. It's based on my experiences. So I'm going to like compile all these things to you guys. Don't get me wrong, guys, because there are still a lot of expensive places around these cities. So we all have different experiences, right? So stay tuned. Okay, let's start with number 10. Bangkok, Thailand. Yes, have you been to Bangkok? If not, then I highly suggest that you need to go to Bangkok, Thailand. It's one of the most famous destinations in Southeast Asia. Yes, and also it's one of the cheapest places or cities that I've been to, and it's really very cheap regarding the hostels, regarding the street foods. I love the foods in Thailand, and it's really one of the best places to visit into. And I highly suggest, guys, that if you're really into, like, if you've been hearing Thailand before, right, it's really highly recommended kind of country that you need to visit, and especially the Bangkok. Everything is there already, like everything is there. Although they have some expensive places as well, but if you really search enough, you can all the time find the cheapest in terms of shopping, in terms of foods. And I'm talking about like less than $100, guys. This kind of, it's not really going to break your bank. It's really one of the most beautiful and exotic destinations that you can go. Okay, number 9, Manila, Philippines. Yes, Philippines now is really very famous in terms of like beaches, right? And one thing you really know that the Philippines is really very cheap. If you're going to change like your $100, it's quite a lot of money, and you can really buy a lot of things when you are in Manila. A lot of vloggers, a lot of filmmakers are like, these stay in Manila, in Philippines, like a sort of base, because one thing about Filipinos, they're very supportive in the bloggers or the blogging industry. And yes, like a beers is only few cents, and the foods, the transportation, and of course, guys, there are places that also quite expensive in Manila. But if you're really like, you ask the locals, right, if you're really into cheap things, a lot of really very extremely cheap kind of, like, for shopping, the transportation, especially the MRTs. So yes, it's really my top 9 destinations in Asia, the Manila, Philippines. So I highly suggest that you also need to visit this one. And number 8, Vientiane, Laos. Yes, although it's not really famous compared to their neighboring countries, right? But Vientiane, Laos had so many things to offer as well. It's really it's not really that expensive country, although sometimes there are language barriers. When I was there are some miscommunications, but I find it very cheap as well, because like, I already like stay in a very good like hostel or in Airbnbs already, and it cost me like only like $9, and yeah, it's really very cheap. And also the transportation, like, it's so really cheap. And some of the tours, it's not really going to break your bank. If you also, like me, just like to stroll around, this is the perfect place for you to go in Southeast Asia. For example, if you are from Thailand, you can just cross border. So yes, I highly also suggest that you also need to visit this Vientiane, Laos. Number 7, Bandar Seri Begawan, Brunei. Yes. Brunei is really a rich country, right? And you know, the famous Sultan of Brunei is one of the richest man in the world. And really, if you're going to visit Brunei, and it's really very very cheap, guys. You know, like if you have like $1, you can eat already. You know, like a nice foods, the drinks. It cost you very very cheap, and the hotels and yeah, really, if you're going to explore more the cities, you know, if you're going to really ask around about the lifestyle in Brunei, it's so cheap, guys. So Brunei also offers a lot of interesting things, you know, like they have the largest water settlement in the world, and also a lot of local dishes that is also very nice. You know, I highly suggest also, guys, that you also go Brunei because it's also very very cheap. Number 6, Kota Kinabalu in Malaysia. One of the first cities that I really like is the Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia. I've been working there for quite a few years, and also it's really one of the cheapest destinations that I've been to. You know, there are a lot of things that to do in Kota Kinabalu as well, and the transportation, the foods are also quite cheap. You know, the hostels and everything, it's very very cheap. That if you have like less than $5, you can have a proper meal already. You can really like enjoy some. It's one of the cities there that it will not break your bank, you know, if you're going to travel into. And I highly suggest also, guys, that you also research a bit also, right? So there are tons of places also to go there, and yes, it's one of the cheapest cities I've been to as well. Number 5, Mandalay, Myanmar. Yes, one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever been to, because I'm the type of guy who likes to explore ancient ruins, ancient temples and cities, you know. So I really like the Mandalay because there have a lot of beautiful temples and exotic temples, and also really it's also very cheap, guys. You know, like it seems like the hostels are very cheap, the foods, sometimes the tour, you know, it's so cheap. Like you can like your $10 or your less than $5, you can have a nice meal, and you can do a lot of things as well there, you know. So it's one of the destinations also in Mandalay, Myanmar, although it's quite far from the Yangon. You know, if you're going to travel to Myanmar, I highly suggest that you go to Yangon first, then after you can go to Bagan, and then after that to Mandalay. It's also one of the cheapest cities that I've been to. It's really very very cheap, guys. If you're going to really explore it, I promise you it will never break your bank, you know. Number 4, Siem Reap, Cambodia. Yes. So one of the most beautiful destinations that I've ever been to is when I went to the Siem Reap, Cambodia. You know, the famous Angkor Wat, and other Khmer temples, right? Like it's really beautiful. You know, it's really very awesome. It's like one of the most magical place that I ever see in my life, and I highly suggest, guys, that if you before leaving Earth for good, right? You need to visit this beautiful place, the Angkor Wat Temple in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Yes. Also, it's really very cheap places, you know, because like the tours, it will cost you like less than $20. You can have the whole day tour already around the temples, and it's the food as well, you know, although they're using the US dollars, but sometimes you can have a proper food like $2 to $3 per meal, you know. It's really one of the cheapest destinations here in Southeast Asia, and I highly suggest, guys, that you need to visit here as well. Number 3, Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Yes, one of the best places to eat the street foods. Yes, I really miss those foods. You know, the street food is really very nice, and it's really also very cheap, guys. Like, you know, you can like eat for like $2, $1. You can have a very nice foods already, and also the transportation. Sometimes you can rent the motorcycle for whole day, like it will cost you like less than $5, you know. And it's really one of the most amazing thing to do there, you know, to drive around the city using motorcycles. It's very cheap, although they have a lot of high-end cities as well. If you really research enough, you can go to really very cheap places, you know, especially when you go to Bentan market. Yeah, it's quite cheap, but sometimes don't forget to haggle, because when you're a foreigner, right, some of the locals there, they were trying to rip you off, you know. So try to bargain and bargain if you're going to visit these places, you know. It will not break your bank. And I highly suggest also, guys, that you need to go there, and also must try their coffee. They have a lot of varieties of coffee, and it's really one of the best in Asia. Number 2, guys, is Cebu City, Philippines. Yes, Cebu City is one of the most beautiful destinations in Philippines. It offers a lot of varieties of places, you know, like cheap foods. The beers are very cheap, you know, the beautiful white sand beaches, the foods, and also it's my hometown. Yes, I'm from Cebu City, and it offers a lot of places, beautiful places, you know. And it's really very cheap, you know, like your less than your $100, for example. It's really a lot already in Cebu, Philippines. Yes, you can have a tour like for less than $10, you know. So really there's a lot of things going on there as well. So I highly suggest, guys, that you need to really visit this place as well, the Cebu, Philippines. It's one of the most beautiful destinations in Asia, and also one of the magazines in US trying to, like, we are the warmest people, you know. We are English speaking people, so there's no language barriers to go when you're going there. So I highly suggest, guys, that you will really enjoy when you go there. And the number 1, guys, is the Bali in Indonesia. Yes, it's really one of the most beautiful destinations as well. When I go there, you know, when I visit the Bali, it's really one of the most incredible places that I've ever been, and also of course one of the cheapest destinations as well around Southeast Asia. You know, Bali is one of the famous places in Asia, right? And it's really very cheap, guys, you know, like from tours, from transportation. Sometimes you can rent a motorbike for less than $5, or sometimes $10. You can do it for like one whole week or for a few days. Yeah, it's really, but you need to drive at your own risk. I also highly suggest, guys, don't just like drive, right? You know, even if you don't have any license, you must be really experienced if you want to do like that, because, you know, sometimes shit happens all the time. And aside from that, guys, it's really, some places in Bali as well are also expensive, but when I went there, it's really, I like spent only less amount of money, and it's really one of the most beautiful experiences as well that I ever did in my life. And I also highly suggest, guys, that at least you put Bali at least one travel plans in the future. Yes, you will never break your bank if you want to go there. So guys, if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell button so that you get notified every time I'm going to upload a new video. And guys, click the video on the screen.